Okay. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting of March 16th. It's 7:03, and if we could stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. We've got a joint meeting tonight. Capital Outlay's here, to make a presentation, and we will ask them to open their meeting.
Sure. Good evening. It is 7:04 p.m. on March 16th, and I'd like to call to order the Carver Capital Outlay Committee.
Okay, that's that. And we have a couple of select board members, but if we have one more show up, they'll have to engage their meeting too. So what we're going to do now is start out with and hear from the Capital Outlay Group and on their presentation for the coming year.
Sure. So the Capital Outlay Group met last week on the 11th, and I just want to make sure everyone, I think in their packets that were handed out tonight, does have the updated one. Is that right? I just want to make sure we all have the updated spreadsheets. We do. It's a very big spreadsheet that was handed out tonight. It's the one that opens up like this. Just so we all have it. So what we're looking at tonight is what we had, is that not the right one? Sorry, it's attached to it, I think in the back. Hold on one second, I just want to make sure we all have it. Do we have it? No.
The capital?
Oh, here it is, sorry. If you go to page 2, it's gonna look like this. So the bottom number totals to $1,236,750. Okay, so I just wanted to give a quick overview of what we looked at last week. So last week when we met, we had the sheet that was presented to us from Karen Preval. And the sheet at that time was worth, including the EMS ambulance, $1,588,175. The committee went through each line individually to see how much we would either go out to bond or bandwidth for next year. So that would be going out to take a loan. That loan would start payments in FY28, even though we would be able to purchase the items in FY27, just so we're all clear. So what we did was we took motions on each item individually. First, we had met with the towns and we said, what is the absolute highest priority critical ones? We went through each one. Some of them did not make the cut on the sheet and some of them did. So after we went through all of those, we had to come up with 6 different projects that would be worth $1,236,750. So that's where we are today. One of the items, which is an O&M, they're here to talk about with us tonight. So we are going to have Dave come up to talk about that. But I just wanted everyone to know how we got to this point, to go from the 1.5 down to the 1.236. Some of the items that did not move forward was a police cruiser. So instead of 2, we had 1 that moved forward. For O&M, it was a replacement of a 2005 one-ton groundskeeper dump truck with a plow. Also, the high school said we could take off the middle school modernization pathways plan, as well as the berm at the elementary school. And that's how we came down to that $1.2 million. Does anyone have any questions about those projects that were voted on?
Yeah, I'm just going by memory, but I thought the fire chief reduced his to 750 in order to finance the $80,000, contribute to the financing of the gymnasium.
We almost did that, but then when we went back to revote, we voted to keep it at the 800,000 and to bring the 80,000 for the weight room back in at the full amount. There was some talk about, do we try to get by and reduce that down by 50,000 and then also reduce a free cash article down to get the gym? But the committee took another vote and we voted to move forward with the weight room.
Yep.
No other questions? Anyone have any questions from Capital? So we do have Dave here tonight if you wanted to talk about the dump truck.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Absolutely.
So the reason I'm here, after the last cuts, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't seen the latest sheet, but I believe, so for capital O&M, the municipal well upgrade was funded, and that was the only one out of the 4 requests, correct? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So what I'd like to ask for would be to fund the replacement of the 2005 one-ton groundskeeper's dump truck with plow for $95,000. The reason for that is that truck actually, that is the 2005, during the blizzard 2 weeks ago, the transmission went in it, so that vehicle is no longer able to be used. Yeah, I do have 2 groundskeepers. That truck is used year-round. They take care of all the municipal fields, other areas they mow during the summer. We do need a dump truck. The other vehicle in that department is a pickup truck that was funded last year, or 2 years ago. I'm not sure which. Apologize. But without that vehicle now, it does put me at a hindrance. And also, that dump truck is used to plow at the elementary school as a second truck over there. And it went during the first day of the blizzard. So the other 2 trucks I can push out a year, but if that vehicle is not funded, it is going to severely impact my department for a year. So, and I know funding is tight, and I know it's ideally the way you're funding it is not ideal. And just because you can borrow, you don't want to borrow more. However, I do ask that this be considered to be funded.
Okay. I have a question.
Sure.
I just want to throw this out there so we're all on the same page. If we didn't fund this truck and you had to go out and have, hire plow truck, people to, use their own plows and pay for, what's the cost of that?
Right now, to replace that truck, I believe, I don't remember the plow rates exactly, Beth. It's probably somewhere around $90 an hour for plowing, but that truck is used year-round for groundskeeping, for transporting mowers. And like I say, it's used all around town throughout the year.
Thanks. I'm just wondering, is our operating budget going to actually go up if we don't purchase this?
Yes, it will affect, during the summer, I'd have to figure out what vehicle, a spare vehicle I could use to transport personnel and equipment around, and then in the winter, I would need a replacement for it.
Okay.
So it would have to be another contract vehicle.
Okay.
Dave, what's the cost of rebuilding the transmission?
Well, the thing is, Walter, it's not gonna get a sticker this year anyways, because of frame rot.
Okay.
Yeah, so the truck was going to be done in July regardless, when inspection time comes, but now it went to pasture early,
So it's 20 years old.
yeah. So, yeah.
So I believe as the capital outlay board, if we wanted to bring this back and make this motion for the dump truck to be added, we would have to reconsider our last vote? Does anyone know for sure?
Think so. That's what we did the other night. Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Can I just say something? Dave, this is embarrassing from a standpoint. Our capital program has been decimated over the past 3 or 4 years. My criteria on this list was life safety. If it's not life safety, put it off to next year. I mean, that was the only fair way in my mind, because a lot of stuff got,
Yep, no, understood.
but I mean, yeah, the need is there, yes, but again, that's just the way my thinking was,
Do you guys have any questions? would you guys like to make a motion to reconsider to make a vote on this for tonight?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so Jen, let me just make sure.
second.
Okay. Okay, so motion made and seconded to reconsider the vote to bring back capital to vote again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, so 3-1. Okay, so now I would need a motion to vote on, I just want to make sure I read this right, to vote on the O&M's replacement of the 2005 one-ton groundskeeper dump truck with a plow for $95,000.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jen and Jackie have made a motion and seconded. So we open this up for discussion? No. Okay, I'll take a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, 3-1, so we will add this back.
Okay, thank you.
So now we would have to readjust the amount that we're gonna go out and do a bond or a ban for. I need my calculator. So we have to add the 95,000 to the 1,236,000 and take another vote.
Beth, I just want to ask, so in the ambulance receipts, that's what's coming up with that 1.2? So there's a 70,000, so right now we're looking at only bonding 1.1666.
Yes, you're right. I'm looking at the wrong column. You are right. So you are right. The amount is 1,166,750. I don't know why. One of my columns.
Plus 95,000?
Yeah. So the 95,000 is what we would have to add to that. Thank you, Jen. Right, so I came up with 1,261,750, if anyone wanted to check my math.
Yeah.
Say the number again, please.
1,261,750. So that would be the bond authorization that we had for 1,166,750 plus 95,000.
You know, but the 70,000 is not in this column,
It shouldn't be.
but it's, then
Yeah.
I don't think this
1261.
column should use that one.
it adds up to that column adds up. to that.
The 1,166,750 plus the 95,000.
It does.
Okay, so this
I
map down
just
here.
did.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with this.
This,
Yeah, the numbers.
They must have the calculations
Yeah.
incorrect.
So this section is wrong, but this column was right, so.
Okay, so we did, all
that
what
right,
it's
column is
looking like.
correct, yeah.
Because the 70 didn't show up here.
yeah.
It's 1,331,750.
Yeah, 1,236 plus the 95.
I'm just gonna add them all up.
This one just added the 50.
Yeah. All right, so I think if you're looking at the spreadsheet that we received tonight, if you go to the column that says capital committee recommendations to select board for that 1,236,750, that ties to what we voted on last week. And so then from that number, we need to add in 95,000.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So that would mean the new number for a bond would be 1,331,750. So I would need a motion to now go out to do, authorize the bond, and to make the recommendation to the Finance Committee and the Select Board for $1,331,750.
Question, because
Yeah.
there was a wording that we used last time, it's not authorizing the bond, there was another wording that I want to use instead, because
Okay.
we said, if we can find money, we'll use different money, we're not authorizing the bond. Can somebody help me what that was?
I think it was just to authorize, wasn't it?
To authorize.
To borrow?
I think you're thinking of it, maybe if it's a ban versus a bond.
I just don't want to use the word bond,
Okay. Authorized to borrow?
to borrow.
Up to, maybe.
Yeah, then whether or not we ban or,
Because if we ban or bond,
or bond,
yeah.
let the finance director make that decision.
Exactly.
Based on how the market's fluctuating that day and, which was
Yeah.
the best interest of the town. So it comes down to if you have to borrow, she has that flexibility.
Okay,
If you say ban,
sure. So why don't we change it to authorized to borrow the 1 million, and then
Up to, or to, no, the number, right?
I would do the number.
Yeah.
And then she can decide when she gets back out with Hilltop, if it's gonna be the bond or the ban.
Okay, so I move that we authorize to borrow, 331,170.
What?
No.
750.
We authorize 331,750, sorry.
Yep, 1,331,750.
I don't know why I put 7.
Okay, so we have a motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Any discussions? Okay, I'll take a motion. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, so 3-1. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Absolutely.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Yeah, thank
thanks,
you.
Dave.
Appreciate it.
So that's what the capital outlay committee has, and these are all the projects that we have voted on this year. So now we bring it up to the finance committee to make your vote for the warrant and the articles. But if you have any questions, we're here to talk them through or answer them.
We're going to, this, let me just look at something.
So
Okay, it's
three
gonna be,
articles, yes.
it's gonna be Article 8 anyway. So, do we want to take a finance committee vote now or wait till Article 8? What do you think? Go ahead.
take it now, it's fresh in your mind.
Okay.
You have to rehash it.
So we just heard a presentation and a vote from the Finance Committee to authorize to borrow $1,331,750. Okay, so if we can have a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion made. Do we have a second? Second by Walter. Okay, any discussion?
Just have a quick, go ahead, Jack,
Yeah.
question from an ignorant person that hasn't been here. Is this something that, like, on a yearly basis, do we have to go and borrow money for capital outlays? Is it just?
No, this is an unusual
somewhat of an
year.
anomaly, or-
This is an anomaly. Normally, there's money set aside for capital. This year, due to some unforeseen expenses with health insurance,
Yeah,
we do not have that money.
okay, all right. I'm good then.
Okay. So, motion, second, discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No? Okay, so it's 4-0.
I think, before we move on, do we also need to make a motion to go to the 70,000? That was for the bond or ban, but we also have 70,000 for ambulance?
Well, that's in Article 8, which we're going to be,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
So we'll take it, we'll do that in Article 8, I think. Okay, so that is a vote from the Finance Committee to support the capital outlay presentation for the $1,331,750. Okay, so anything else, Beth?
No, the only other capital item we would have on the list is the ambulance in Article 8 for our committee.
Well, all right, so let's do it this way then. Then why don't we do that one so that your committee doesn't have to wait until we get there, okay? So, let's go to, and you can help me frame this then. Actually, the agenda has a little bit wrong. It's the Article 8, 7 and 8 are transposed here. So let's look at Article 8. And Beth, what would you like to
So what is
do
going on
here?
is, we're going to go out for an authorization to borrow for all of the projects except an ambulance. So the EMS department has money in their reserve or their revolving account to purchase the ambulance themselves. So they're able to do that, but we need to vote on that. So Capital Outlay Committee has already voted on that. This is just for the Finance Committee to be aware and to vote that they can purchase that.
Okay, so what we've done is we've voted the sum, which is different than it's been written here. So can you frame a motion for us?
Sure. I'll make a motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that we should approve the $70,000 for the ambulance. I'm sorry. It's not actually, I'm sorry, I'm calling it an ambulance. I should really be calling it an MCI vehicle. This is gonna be a special vehicle that they use that will be able to go out on calls. It will have equipment in the back, but it's not an ambulance to transport a patient. It's still gonna go house to house, have the needs that they would need in the van or the truck, but it will not transport a patient.
And Chief Ryan, we called it a command vehicle, it's the terminology he used, but you're correct, it does carry equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it?
There's medical equipment, but there's no
But it's
patient.
not transport, basically.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, that's my fault. I'm just calling it an ambulance, but it's not
This is
ambulance.
coming out of the ambulance
It's
fund.
fund.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have their own fund where revenue goes in, expenses go in, and they're able to purchase this vehicle through this fund. They don't think they use the capital money that we're bonding or getting a ban for. But we do need to make the motion for it to go in the warrant.
Okay, so,
So I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna make a motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen the $70,000 for the EMS department to purchase the command or MCI vehicle.
okay, motion made, second. Second by Jack. Okay, discussion. No discussion, okay. No further discussion, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Against? Okay, so 4-0 for that piece of it. Okay, so we've got the overall sum, we've got that piece of it, and if we have to do anything else, we'll involve the capital committee and we can do that, the article when we talk about it. Okay, so if that's the case, we want to.
So for the capital outlay committee, would you guys like to adjourn? You're still welcome to stay, but we wouldn't have any other capital items tonight on the agenda.
Sure, I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So we will end the capital outlay committee at 7:27 PM. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank
You're
you,
still welcome
Capital
to
Group.
stay. Yep.
Okay, so now we can move on to the school department, please. We have the superintendent and business manager, so come up, please. Thank you.
Can we hook up to the TVs?
Yes.
We can do it through here.
They have to sit at that table. Jackie, do you want to move over to the other spot?
To make sure that
He's always asking,
the process was good.
Here's if you could use it.
And then you go.
That's all.
I don't know if it works. I say a cord.
Have the long
I
cord.
love a cord.
If you want to sit over here, we can use.
Sit wherever you want me to sit.
Thank you.
Rod has it up.
switch seats.
No, that's fine. As long as that's not disturbing.
It's up to you. Thank you, appreciate it. Yes. Thank you.
What about me?
Just a moment.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, I still have sex.
I'd like to thank the school department for coming over and sharing their budget with us, so please go ahead.
Thank you all. I think I know this right, everyone, but hi, I'm Ron Griffin, I'm the business manager of the schools.
I'm Scott Nave, superintendent of the Carver Public Schools. Thank you for having us here this evening. I'm glad to be here to talk about both the schools and our budget.
We've got a hard copy in front of you as well, we'll go through, but at any point you got a question, just stop me, we'll dig in deeper. So you've got today the budget that our school committee saw just the other day, balanced budget for FY27. To give you just a sort of big picture of how we'll proceed, we'll start by just sharing with you a little bit about the priorities that drive the school department's budget. We've got certainly a large budget for any community. Most communities, schools are the largest budgets. But one of the things that's important to us is that as we think about the budget, you can often get stuck in the numbers and the graphs and the data. And so we always start with our priorities to remind ourselves like the reason we have a budget is people, right? It's all of our staff and our employees and the work that they do to support their students and their children and community. And so our budget, while complicated, is driven by people here in Carver. We'll spend first some time talking about the operating budget itself, then we'll dive into the revenue and how that balances, and we'll end with an executive summary for you.
Yeah, so as a school district, we've really taken an approach of, one of our taglines is great things happen here every day. And, you know, a little different than necessarily a straight budget presentation. I'm gonna spend some time tonight talking about some of the great things that happen. And I'll try, I could sit here for an hour and tell you about the great things that happen in the school every day, so that's not my intention, but I wanna highlight some things that are happening at the highest level. So I just kind of did a summary looking at the elementary level, middle school level, the high school level, and certainly there could be a lot more different bullets up here, but I figured these would kind of be the focuses that we look at. So at the elementary level, we're always looking at that core curriculum in terms of writing, reading, and math. And this year's focus actually has been very specifically on writing. So we've spent a lot of time focusing on having our students improve their writing, and it's been amazing to see. If you have the opportunity to walk around our schools, kids are writing all the time. That's what they do. They're just writing. So we're really looking to do that foundational literacy, because that foundational literacy is just such a core part of any learning that a student's going to do. And we're always looking to improve that. We're always looking to move that in the next direction. And this budget, the goal of this budget is to support our teachers our interventionists, our staff at the elementary level to support those foundational skills in reading, writing, and math. The other piece I put on here was just something you should know about our elementary school that I don't know how well known this is in the community unless you actually have kids attending the school, is for an elementary school, the number of extracurricular activities we run is just amazing. It's outstanding. We run all kinds of before and after school programs. It's really a pride of the district and something that's unusual. There are elementary schools that run extracurricular programs, but ours are just extensive. They're all the time. If you come there at 7:30 in the morning, there's generally some group doing something. The school day doesn't start till late. So a lot of our programs actually, instead of like a high school where they run after school, at the elementary level, they actually run before school. And a lot of our programs run 7:15 to 8 or 7:30 to 8. And I'm not going to read them all to you, but I'll just say some of them. We have student ambassadors, we have a ukulele club, we have a musical club, we have a video club, a newspaper club. We have a walking running club Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you go by the elementary school about 7:30, you're going to see 100 kids out walking the walking path or running the walking path. We have a Learn to Ride program, which is great. Kindergarten and first grade students learn how to ride a bike. And so they do a before school program on learning how to ride a bike. We have I don't know if we have a rock wall in our elementary gym. I don't know if you've been in the elementary gym. There's a rock wall. It's beautiful. So we have a rock climbing club for our elementary students. We have this great cup game called speed stacking. We have the old traditional faithfuls like floor hockey. You can go and see the kids play floor hockey. And actually, this list is 2 pages long of our elementary clubs activities that run all the time, which is just really, you see that a lot at the middle school level, you see that a lot at the high school level, you see it less so at the elementary school level. So I just wanted to highlight that for the community a little bit. At the middle school level, one of the things we're excited about is statewide actually, they're moving towards an 8th grade civics curriculum. I thought that several members of the boards might be interested in that. So we are in our first year of full implementation of what's called the Democratic Knowledge Project, which is it's a set curriculum in physics and civics, and it's really working at having our 8th graders think about how they can become civic-minded and responsible citizens. Democratic is small democratic, not large democratic. Sometimes people get caught on the idea it's not the Democratic Party that runs the Democratic Knowledge Project. It's just the whole concept of, and the students work on doing a petition, doing an area of focus, thinking about something that they want to change within their community. So every 8th grader has to do a civics project where they're going to make proposals to, and interesting, members of the select board, it's possible that you'll have an 8th grader who reaches out to you and say, here's a civic project that I'd like to propose for the town of Carver. A lot of those projects actually come to the administrative level for the principal, assistant principals, myself, maybe Ron, but that is a new curriculum that we're implementing at the middle school level, which we're just excited about. The other thing is we've actually changed our focus in middle school level of the math a little bit in terms of 2 math programs. One's called Illustrative Math, the other one's called Building Thinking Classrooms. The school committee doesn't know this, but we're going to have a presentation on Building Thinking Classrooms coming up in the next month or so. We're going to talk about just a new approach towards how students look at math, with the focus really being having students looking at most math problems being solved in more than one way. And so it's thinking about how to approach a math problem, and it's how to work through a problem and taking the information you have to come to a solution. And it's a pretty interactive approach. It's pretty student engaged. Has students up at whiteboards, problem solving, collaborating, thinking about how to approach any problem. So it's really sometimes even more about the concept of problem solving. You have a problem, how do you attack it through your mind? How do you think about that problem and solve that problem? Which is really a great transferable skill. At the high school level, we're going to focus on some of these more in the presentation later on. One of the great things about our high school, for a very small school, we run a wide range of electives, which is really directly related to our Pathways program. I think people have heard a lot about Pathways, so there is a slide later on in the presentation where we talk a little bit more about in depth about Pathways. But that Pathways program really has, what it's done for our school, is it just gives our 9 to 12 students a wide range of avenues to look at in terms of thinking about a possible career or a possible college track. Our athletic programs are growing and becoming very successful, so there's a couple slides on that later on. Actually had a great winter season, which we'll highlight. And then I'm not sure if everyone in the community knows we run a senior internship program where about 60 to 70% of our seniors do an internship somewhere. The goal with all of them is to be as industry related as possible, and we have students out of a wide range of places, from hospitals to doctor's offices to engineering firms to manufacturing firms to working at the elementary school. But we've had a real focus that's tied into our Pathways program of giving all of our seniors an internship opportunity. And every student has the opportunity to do an internship. They don't all do it. Like I said, about 70% do, but that opportunity is there for everyone. So I think that's a real strength at the middle high school that is supported through this budget presentation. Staying with this whole concept of our priorities, as a district, we have a vision statement called our educational blueprint. It focuses on these 4 core concepts of support safe schools, enhance teaching and learning, engaging the community, and collaborating with leadership on policy and funding. I'm not going to go through all the objectives tied to these goals, but these are our 4, what we call our 4 big rocks. These are the 4 things we want to be about as a school district. So obviously, support safe schools is a dual approach. It's a concept of physical safety, and we do a lot of work around the concept of physical safety and some of the dangers that are now faced in public schools. But the second part of that is really social emotional safety. So we have a lot of program that's geared at looking at supporting students' emotional growth and emotional health. So that is all supported through the budget presentation we're going to make this evening. Enhancing teaching and learning, obviously that is the core of what we do. We want our students to be as prepared as possible. We ultimately want to cultivate empowered learners, responsible citizens, and we're always looking at different teaching programs, different approaches to ensure our students have the best opportunities in front of them. We certainly want to engage the community of Carver. We want Carver to be a thought partner. We want to invite the community into the school, and we've tried to do a lot of work over that the last couple of years of inviting the community into the school and engaging through different organizations, whether it's the athletic boosters, whether it's through school councils, whether it's through just coming to events. You know, seeing 300 parents at the musical next week. So this week we have the elementary musical coming up on Thursday and Friday night, and each night we'll have 300-400 people there to see that. And then the next week is the middle high school musical, and we'll have 300 or 400 people there to see those. So we just want the members of the community to come in and see all the great things happening in our schools. And then why we're here tonight. We also want to collaborate with the leadership of the town, with the town administrator, with the select board, with the finance committee, with the capital outlay committee, in terms of what's the best things we can do in terms of leadership and funding our schools to make sure that we have adequate resources for all of our students. And these are kind of our 4 big rocks, big priorities as a school district. Talk a little bit about pathways, and that's really something you've heard of before. So as a school district for our high school students, we've identified 8 what we call pathways. I'll say what they are: the biotechnology, clean energy, computer science, culinary hospitality, environmental and agricultural sciences, health and wellness, manufacturing, engineering, technology, and visual and performing arts. And the whole concept of a pathway is it gets a student to, if a student starts thinking in their sophomore or junior year, I'm really interested in being a nurse. We would encourage them to be part of our biotechnology pathway. And then that gives them a series of 3 or 4 courses that would prepare them to go into the nursing field. If they're interested in being an engineer, they would have 3 or 4 courses in manufacturing, engineering, technology, et cetera, et cetera. I won't go through each program. But the whole concept, there was a shift we made beginning in 2000, right after the pandemic. And it was something we had begun planning in 2018. We'd actually worked as partners with DESE about moving in this direction of what they call career innovation career pathways. And you can see there's a lot of support for that within the state. So Carver's been awarded over $340,000 in innovation pathways grants from the state. So a lot of these programs have been funded through state support. Obviously, you see Governor Healy. That is our students. That's Governor Healy in our school. That is Governor Healy at Carver Middle High School. She came in 2024 to celebrate our pathways programs. The state holds us up as a model across Massachusetts. We often are hosting schools from around the state to talk about how we've developed our pathways programs. And Governor Healy, when she came in, I think it was April of 2024, she announced the new school districts in the state of Massachusetts who were going to get grant support for their pathways. But she used Carver as the model for that program. So ultimately, you know, part of our priorities through the budget is to maintain the staffing to be able to offer these pathways and to be able to offer the courses in support of these pathways. Now, a student at the school doesn't have to be aligned with a pathway. So we're not a vocational school, we're not a technical, so they don't have to join a pathway in their sophomore year and follow one all the way through. We have of our graduating seniors, about 30 to 40% will actually graduate by completing a pathway. That means 60% don't. But it also means those 60% of students have this wide range of electives that I talked about, a wide range of opportunities. So as a high school student, over your 4 years, you could take a course in biotechnology, you could take a course in computer science, you could take a course in health and wellness. Beyond your core subjects of your general, what you would think of as your general course curriculum of, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry, chemistry, biology, US history, beyond your general core curriculum, they have the opportunity to take these electives over a period of time. And some of our students focus those electives in one pathway and get a designation as completing a pathway. And some of our students just take one in each area, because just to get a sense of where they might want to go. Because as we all know, sometimes we may think when we go we want to do when we're 17, but when we're 25, we change our minds, and when we're 45 or 50, we change our minds as well, in terms of what direction we want to go in. But we're just looking to have students have those experiences. So the Pathways program is obviously a huge part of what we want to do as a school district. I'm going to turn it back to Ron, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. So I just thought that was helpful to give you a sense of, why we have a budget in the first place, the kinds of things that ultimately you fund when you fund your school department. We'll spend some time now diving into that budget itself. We'll go through the numbers, try to connect those dots between the funding and the figures with some of the experiences that you give your students. So an overview of your FY27 budget, the way it's structured in our school, as in all schools in Massachusetts. It's built around the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's accounting structure. So on the right is sort of how the state says you've got to put your money together for schools. Yeah, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to follow the state's lead with how that works, and we'll dive into some detail on each of those categories, those cost centers. Okay. Two things to keep in your mind as we go through it. First is we'll spend a couple of minutes talking a little bit about what the cost center reflects. I know some of you know education, finance inside and out. Some don't, but if you don't, that's okay. We'll a couple of minutes of how it all works. And the second, we'll spend some time on talking about the FY27 cost drivers, the things that make FY27's budget in this area unique, right? The drivers of that cost. Okay. So your 1,000 series, high level, your cost centers like your district-wide administrative team. It's also your district-wide technology and infrastructure, legal costs, those sorts of things. For drivers, there's really two major drivers. I mean, your obvious contracts, which is sort of annual, but this year we're making some investments in our data infrastructure. I might just take a minute to dive into that for a second. I don't know if you've read recently about some of the data attacks that have happened in the public sphere over the past year to 2 years. School districts, communities, where their data has either been hacked, compromised, or held ransom. So we're updating our systems. We're shifting to a government-linked management detection response system. What that means is essentially it ensures, A, that we have stronger data security protection protocols in the infrastructure, and it ensures that we have data sovereignty, which means our data has to be held in all servers here in the United States and can't be held outside of it, right?
The only part on that is I've seen some articles that say the most attacked, who faces the most attacks of any business, more than financial institutions, more than hospitals, is schools. I don't know if they view it as schools being a weak source and data rich, because it does maintain a lot. And generally, they're not looking for student data per se; they're actually looking for the staff data. But not saying but they could also, if we had a data breach, they could get into student data, which would be family data and family information. But schools face a lot of cyber attacks, and there's a lot of school districts that have had problems where they've been hacked, and they've either looked for a ransom or have hold their data, and they've had to rebuild their entire systems.
Yeah. Last thing I'll just say about that, not to spend too much time, we're super fortunate. We've got a really good tech team in general. They're both good about staying ahead on these sorts of things, as well as investing in some of the equipment that's required too. So this is the software side of it, but that's the driver for FY27 there. We're going to change gears to the 2000 series. Again, a lot of what Mr. Neef just talked about in terms of maintaining the services here for students is reflected in that 2000 series. That's all of your classroom instructional staff, the support staff, the stuff they use, textbooks and supplies, instructional software, PD, etc. Right? we'll take a minute to maybe give you some other highlights when it comes to the FY 27, 2000 series.
And for the elementary school, another concept that's a real strength for our school is our intervention model. And these three bullets kind of go together. Bonus block is a professional development time that we have for teachers during the school day at the beginning of the day. It rotates through each grade level, so once every 7 days, a grade level gets an additional bonus block, where the kids go to Allied Arts and get a little extra gym or art or music. And the teachers have a half hour of professional development. But that professional development is all based on supporting our intervention model. Where we're looking at, we said that those core fundamental concepts of writing and math and literacy at the elementary school, we try to identify students who may not be staying up to par. And so then we have interventionists, we have reading coaches, we have math support, and students are put into an intervention course during what we call WIN, what the student needs. So there's a period during the day, later in the day, where students who need additional support will go off to WIN and get support in reading or in math. And this has really been a core commitment of our elementary staff and teachers over the last several years to implement this intervention model with the goal of trying to ensure that all of our students are staying where they're supposed to be. And the bonus block, the commitment of the teachers, the intervention model all kind of go together and is a core instructional service that we offer at the elementary school. At the middle high school, we have a range of things coming up. Beyond Pathways, we run a positive behavioral intervention support system, which is called PBS. There's a lot of positive incentives for students to do the right thing. One of the things that's supported in this budget is next year we're actually going to be transitioning away from French and towards Portuguese. So we offer 2 languages to the middle high school right now. We offer Spanish and we offer French. The French program has been dwindling a little bit. And our French teacher, which is actually very hard to come by right now, there's not a lot of people graduating with degrees to teach French, at least in this area. And our French teacher is near retirement. So she's going to transition the French program out. She's going to do a gradual retirement over the next couple of years, where she goes from full-time to part-time to like 0.2. But she'll take the kids who are currently in French through the French program. And then we're going to move to transition and add in the Portuguese. Brazilian Portuguese makes sense in southeastern Massachusetts. It's the #1, probably secondary language now that's spoken in this area. And so we're going to be offering that as well as Spanish. And we begin that transition next year. One of the other strengths of district-wide, but specifically at the middle high school level, and we're going to see this in the budget because we've had some savings here, is we actually offer a wide range of special education programs in-house to support students with disabilities. And by offering those programs in-house, sometimes we're able to reduce our out-of-district costs as a comparison to other districts. You're going to see, particularly this year, we've done exceptionally well. And it doesn't always go this well. This year we've done exceptionally well. And you're going to see our special education budget is actually reduced. So our special ed budget for next year is lower than it is for this year. That doesn't happen very often, but that's attributed a little bit to the wide range of special education programs we run in-house, especially at the middle high school. For a small school, we offer 12 AP courses, which is actually a strength. And we have some students who take some AP courses virtually, so sometimes we'll have as many 13 or 14 or 15 AP courses offered, but we have 12 that are taught by our teachers. And our elementary music teacher is a rock star, not that our other music teachers aren't. She's just getting kids really excited about music, and our music program is growing exponentially. Next year, we're going to have over 200 students at the high school taking some sort of course at the middle and high school levels, those are great numbers. But you're going to see in the budget, we actually have an addition of a 0.5 music teacher because of the growing music program. And we'll explain how we get to that position.
So again, what you see in the 2000 series, as Mr. Neef described, is all of that in there. It's all the staffing, all of the equipment, all the contract services, et cetera, sort of build in that experience for students. A couple of key drivers that I want to bring your attention to. Obviously, contractual increases are the #1 driver. We are a staff-driven department, right? The better part of about 4/5 of your entire school department budget is staffing, right? Which is typical for most school departments. So you see contractual increases as well as latest retirement projections, though, as well. You typically get savings on retirements, and that's a benefit. Some special education contract services are a driver this upcoming year for some 1-to-1 with medically fragile kiddos.
Google, if you may remember back when they first started, they said, hey, everything's free, we're Google. And now they're like, it's not free, it costs some money. So they're charging us now. As Mr. Neef alluded to, this does not include new positions or any reductions. We'll show that at the very end. That helps us balance it, okay? Moving on, your 3000 series. For the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, this is a little bit of a potpourri, sort of a mix of some things. So I want to make sure you understand what the cost center reflects. The athletics programs is certainly a big part of it, as well as a lot of those extracurriculars that Mr. Neef outlined at the beginning when we talked about our priorities. School nurses are in there, school health is in there, as well as transportation. That includes all of your transportation, yellow bus program, which you see more typically, as well as your special education out-of-district, Aggie students, homeless and foster care. Those last few categories are typically your most volatile financially. Those are like snow and ice, right? You never know what you're going to get. You have to plan for the worst, hope for the best in a given year. Because if a student does become homeless or is in foster care or requires a specialized service, by law, we've got to transport that student to and from, whatever that might be. In terms of drivers for the next year, again, you sort of hear a theme here. It's contractual increases for staff. That's pretty typical. Some other things that are helpful, though, to keep in the back of your mind. We have an increase in in-house special education out of district. That includes the bus monitors for kiddos who have severe disabilities, homeless and foster. But we have a decrease in the contracted services end of that. So more and more of those routes are coming in-house versus going out paying a for-profit vendor. Generally speaking, that saves the taxpayer a few dollars because your school department is not for profit. These vendors are obviously for profit.
So in terms of the support series, just want to highlight the athletics program. I'm not going to read through the sports we offer, but those are our sports for fall, winter, and spring. Just because today was the first day of the spring season, I do not think anybody was outside, but it was the first day of spring sports. And well, I'm not going to read these to you either, but our winter sports season, this past one actually, was one of the best seasons we've had in a long time. We've had a lot of students who had great individual accomplishments, and we had a lot of students who broke school records. Again, not going to read all of our students' individual accomplishments, but on the next slide.
Can I just add one?
Sure.
I was just chatting with Kelsey, our athletic director, today, and she was watching one of our students at the very end there, Hazel, who represented Carver at the Nationals.
Yeah, so Hazel,
which is incredible.
Hazel was in the Nationals as a 7th grader, competing against older kids. And I don't know what she finished in the Nationals. I want to say 20th. But as a 7th grader, she finished 20th in the Nationals.
Yeah.
So there's a real sense of hopefully she'll stay with us here in Carver, and that she's going to be
Good things to come.
She's going to be a top 5 runner in the nation. Possibly, if she keeps going the way she's going. It's not on the sheet, as a 7th grader, she was the league MVP in winter track. So she was, the league determined she was the best athlete of all students, 7 through 12 in our league, this past year.
Impressive, yeah.
That's pretty impressive. And then, we had all kinds of students set individual records. Hazel's up there for 3 in the 7th grade. She broke 3 school records. Obviously, look at the number of students who broke a school record in the winter season. So our winter season was really an outstanding accomplishment, and just excited about some of the great things that are happening in athletics, which is supported through this 3000 series on budget.
The last thing I'll share with you on that 3000 series is about transportation. I know it's a hot topic sort of in every community, right? Like the cost of transportation, no matter where you go, is substantial in the Commonwealth. And because of that, actually, through some great advocacy, I think Ms. Clorty and the Massachusetts Association of School Committees advocated heavily over the past several years that the legislature require the Inspector General's office to do some analysis on transportation, education transportation, in particular special education transportation in the Commonwealth. And so they recently released this large, sort of expansive analysis of the cost of special education transportation across every community in the Commonwealth. If you need to get to sleep, it's 93 pages and linked there. You can get a copy of that. But highlights for you, though, a couple of things. The first is that, in general, the Commonwealth doesn't really set any parameters around these costs. And what you see in that map, that heat map there, are the cost by community per pupil for special education transportation. Dark green, super expensive. Light green, not very expensive. And if you notice Carver there, sort of center bottom right, we're the lowest cost category in the Commonwealth by quite a bit. And so proud of that. I think that's a reflection of the fact that we're fortunate to own and operate our own transportation program. Again, not have to lean on a lot of these for-profit vendors, both for special education transportation, but also for your yellow bus as well. One other takeaway that the study had, which I thought was really interesting, is that your yellow bus contracts with only a couple of vendors left in the state mean that there's almost no competition for these vendors. And they charge whatever they'd like to charge. And so there's this push really across a lot of school departments and communities to try to move away from that contracted service and move toward own and operate, which I'm sure you can appreciate is really hard to do all at once because you have a big capital investment up front to do that. And so again, big picture, Carver saves about 20% or so on the regular yellow bus transportation, about 60% on special education transportation in any given year.
If I could just interrupt for a second, I just want to reinforce, what you're saying, because back in my experience for many years in Carver, that it was always far less expensive to do our own transportation than it was to contract it out, year after year after year, and it still is. And just recently, I think it was just this year, the city of Worcester transitioned from contracting school bus service to providing their own. Yeah. And I know that Plymouth is looking at it right now. And one of the other...
They voted to do it if they're just investigating. Ron, you may know.
They're just doing the research at this time. They've got
they haven't done it yet, but they are doing it. But one of the, I think one of the more important intangibles that you get with this is your school bus drivers are your employees. And many of those people are town residents. You know them, the kids know them, they know the kids. And I think that's hard to put a price on, because you know who you're dealing with. It's not some other, it's not a new person every week. It's not this or that. You know these people, the kids know them, and that is that's a big advantage. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Not to belabor the issue, I'll say one other item on it quickly. So Mr. Neef mentioned this at a recent school committee meeting. We all saw the last snowstorm, historic in that regard. I think we were fortunate that our drivers, because they live in town, they know every inch of this community. We were able to do some modified bus routes, primarily thanks to them. They went out, looked at the routes, tried to find the right ways where we could get down some of the streets that were really clear, had to avoid some that weren't quite ready for us yet, where a lot of communities had to stay out an extra day. And so while it's just one day, I think it's just another small indication of the value to add to what Pat mentioned there. So 3,000 series, there's your deep dive there. Moving on, 4,000 series, I appreciate your patience with us here. We'll kind of get our speed going a little bit. This is operations and maintenance. It's not sexy and exciting, but super important as well. Your cost centers are really straightforward. It's a combination of technology and custodial, grounds, maintenance, utilities. I will say your drivers for this are usually quite low. This is an atypical year. Your annual is usually 2%, 3% tops. We're seeing a pretty substantial increase in time materials for almost all of our repairs, maintenance, and upkeep. And so you're seeing a pretty substantial reflection in your percent change this time year to year as well. One thing we've tried to do to ameliorate some of that cost increase has been to go to an alternative on-bill credit mechanism. And I appreciate Mr. Cannon's leadership and support with doing that. We've recently worked on a contract to essentially buy some alternative energy electricity credits. That will be an on-bill reduction by about 12%. Your schools are your largest energy consumer almost exclusively in your community, just given their size. And so 12% is a pretty substantial increase, pretty substantial decrease. In FY27, that's going to save you a little over $20,000. It's a calendar year start, so you'll see an additional savings in 28 as well. So more to come on that. Appreciate our partnership with our colleagues in Town Hall to continue that process going.
Can I just interrupt again and just give you a little fun fact about what happened back in the 90s when you tried to when you tried to do some energy improvements, the utility companies would fine you for that.
Really? No, be less efficient.
Yeah, because they had a business plan and they had so many hundreds of thousands of kilowatts that I remember this because we did. We were, maybe fined is the wrong word, but you got, we would make some improvements and we would lower our kilowatts and they didn't like it, so we got spanked for that. But now they try to do it.
Yeah, I hope that we don't get that. I think this is I hope this will remain to be a saver long term for us. Your 5000 series is not super interesting, but again, just give you a high level of it. It's insurance, it's workers' comp, it's life insurance, and those sorts of things. Your drivers are primarily, liability insurance, your Medicare, obviously. One savings you get each year, the Plymouth and Carver regional school remains to have employees that are obviously retired now, but are still on health insurance. We receive an assessment bill from our colleagues over in Plymouth who manage that, but obviously given their age, each year that number is decreasing, and so each year that helps decrease some of our 5000 series costs. Mr. Neef alluded to this, and honestly, if you take nothing else away from our presentation today, this is really the story of your FY27 budget. Your 9000 series is your tuitions out of district, so you see what it reflects there. The lion's share of that cost is special education out of district. It does include also vocationals that are not Old Colony, so if a kiddo wants to do a certain vocational program, but Old Colony doesn't have it, they can go to another vocational school, and we cover the cost of that. Dual enrollment, and then some partnership that we have with our Reads collaborative. But again, the large majority is special education, and what you see there is a negative percentage. That's not a typo, it's actually going down. I mentioned that already. I will say one last thing that's important to keep in the back of your mind here as we're going to do a deep dive. One of the reasons this is going down really is a testament to our special education team, our school leadership, Mr. Neef, and certainly our special education director as well. When students have severe special education needs, oftentimes those needs can't be met here in your community, and those students' needs have to be met elsewhere, typically private specialized programs. That requires a tuition, which can be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and transportation to that location, which can be in the tens of thousands of dollars. For every student that's able to be either brought back to Carver or kept in Carver for their program, it saves you a substantial amount of money in the tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on tuition and transportation. Typically, you see the 9000 series increasing a few percentage points, and you can see a few percentage points on nearly $3 million is serious money on your budget. To go down 4 percentage points is, I've been in education for over 2 decades, I've never seen it before. And so it doesn't typically happen. I want to be upfront, this is not a typical thing that occurs, but in terms of your financial landscape, really a saving grace when it comes to your total budget. Because of that, I thought I'd take a minute to drill into the data. I'm a bit of a nerd for this stuff, so I apologize in advance that we're going to get a little bit dense here, but I think it's instructive. What you see on the right-hand side is sort of 2 sets of data simultaneously. That red line you see is simply the enrollment of students who are going out of district, who have significant disabilities, so significant that we don't have the programs here locally to cover that service. That number over the past couple of years has started to come down. That is, either students are coming back to our schools who are otherwise outside of our schools. Those blue bars are the total cost for those tuitions. Again, those come down. Each year, tuitions not only typically increase, more students leave, but also the actual tuition itself. Schools charge you more, right? The cost of doing business is more each year. And you saw that spike, last thing I'll just say, you can see that spike post-pandemic. So like FY22, 23, 24, 25, that spike was severe and really a heavy burden on the school department and community's budget in general. This last deep dive shows you all of special education. So again, just a quick summary here, this is showing you just out of district, the 9000 series tuitions. This shows you all of special education, local programming, all of your salaries for local teachers and programs, as well as all of those tuitions. That orange line is the change. So your total cost to deliver special education, as always, goes up. That's never going to change. But the speed at which it's going up is slowing way down, thanks in large part to that reduction in the number of tuitions and the cost of those tuitions going out. Again, that's your takeaway for your FY27 budget, and really for your trend over the past couple of years, is that reduction in that overall special education out-of-district cost. So there's the executive summary, all-in budget. A couple things to remember. Hey, it doesn't include adding new positions or any reductions in positions. It doesn't include offsets. That's your raw number, cost to operate your school department all in. Big takeaway again that you see there, that decrease in that 9,000 series special education tuitions. Quick little visual on the left. This is just staffing versus everything else. Again, 4/5 of your entire budget are people. We are in a business of big people teaching little people. It's what we do. On the right-hand side, it just shows you the categories that we talked about based on the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's sort of accounting structure. Yeah. Lion's share in the 2000s. One thing I'll share with you quickly is historical. You see in green, the tuitions there, the 10%. Pre-pandemic, that number was 8%. Just last year was 11%. So we're not quite to pre-pandemic numbers. I don't know if any school district will ever get back to pre-pandemic numbers, but to even move back from where we've been has been a nice step in the right direction. Okay, that was a lot. Hang in there, we're almost done. We'll go into revenue. How do we pay for all this education? How do we pay for all these services for our kiddos? We'll talk about revenue in two parts. Part one is the state and local aid. That's how we get to the number that's on the warrant, right? And then part two, while it's smaller, grants and offsets, super important as well. Again, you guys are our finance people, you know this, so I won't spend too much time on it. But folks at home who maybe haven't seen it before, state, local aid get combined. A big part of that is Chapter 70. That's the way the state figures out how much state money goes to every community for education. We'll spend some time talking about that. Grants and offsets are grants that we write on behalf of the community that bring in outside money to support your school department, state, federal, private. They're in a bunch of different categories. Okay. Let's start by just talking about part one, state, local aid. Again, this is the amount that ends up on the warrant. Right? The way that number is set is ultimately determined by your select board and their financial policy. A couple things to think about that sort of go into that mix. Revenue is typically driven by Prop 2.5. There's a link there if you want to learn more about it. The big lion's share of state aid comes from Chapter 70, which is, again, the laws that set forth by Beacon Hill to set state money out and appropriate it to all of the communities for their education. All of that's taken into account, minus new pilot agreements, solar, for example. Right? That formula backs out some fixed liabilities, debt service, health insurance, those sorts of things, and then whatever's left is apportioned. A portion to your school department, and then a portion to general government, which is all of your other departments. Big takeaway there is all in, that number is $26,237,430, an increase of about 3.3%. I'd like to take a minute to drill into Chapter 70, though. I feel like this is probably one of the most important things in education in the Commonwealth, especially right now because it's a topic of debate on Beacon Hill. Is the formula right? Is it helping communities in the right ways? High level, Chapter 70 and the Student Opportunity Act sort of govern how state aid goes out to your communities. Its driver is enrollment. There's some other things, but the big driver for Chapter 70 is enrollment. Why that's important is because on the right, you can see enrollment by graduating class here in Carver. So in blue, that's your enrollment by graduating class from 2005 to 2024, the better part of 20 years. In red, that's birth rate. We get that right from the state rolls. Again, they sort of mirror each other. As enrollment declines, you'd think Chapter 70 would come down with it. There's a provision in Chapter 70 called hold harmless. Essentially, it says like, hey, look, we realize that the state, if we decline your funding, it's going to devastate the large majority of school departments and communities across the Commonwealth. It's massive. So what they do is they have hold harmless, which gives you a small portion of increase year after year after year.
I don't know if we spent I know we spent a lot of time, but I don't know if we spent a little bit of time on what the Student Opportunity Act is, because that may not be general terminology that everybody knows. So I believe 2020, the state passed what was called the Student Opportunity Act. And basically they said that Chapter 70 was underfunded. And they were gonna increase funding through Chapter 70 through state aid based on 4 categories. The number of special education students you had, number of low-income students you had, number of ELL, or English language learner students you had, and also just an adjustment for healthcare costs. Because they said the Chapter 70 formula wasn't keeping up with those 4 cost centers. But you would only get the increase in the student opportunity, you'd only get an increase in Chapter 70 if your district was maintaining its population or growing. So the Student Opportunity Act has not been a benefit to Carver at all. So at the time it was passed, there was a lot of discussion about, hey, the Student Opportunity Act is going to really help, and the state's going to increase the funding. Now, places that it has helped, and Ron's, I think it's on the next slide, is 85% of districts have a declining enrollment and are actually not benefiting from the Student Opportunity Act in the state of Massachusetts. So that means only 15% of districts are benefiting from this law. And so there's a lot of questions about that. People is like saying, does the Chapter 70 formula need to be readjusted? Only because, bottom line, is Massachusetts has a declining population in terms of kids. If you actually look at the states, like total population, the total population is pretty steady. But school-age kids is declining. And that's certainly true in Carver. If you look at Carver's population is actually pretty steady over the last 20 years. I've been looking at some of the census data. I can't give you the exact numbers, but it's pretty steady. The population of the town of Carver is not much different now than it was in 2000. But there's a lot less kids because the population has just gotten older. And this number I do remember is in 2020, the 2000 census, the median age in Carver was 36. In the 2020 census, the median age in Carver was 46. So Carver's just getting older and there's fewer kids. So when the Student Opportunity Act was passed, there was a lot of excitement. This is gonna be great. The state's putting more money into Chapter 70. But the reality of that really hasn't come true for most districts. So sorry for my little sidebar on the Student Opportunity Act.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What happens when a child decides their parents homeschool? Do they come out of the formula?
Yes.
Where do they go?
They are not counted as enrolled in the Carver Public
Okay.
Schools. So homeschooled students are not counted within our population.
Is that growing? Is that?
No, actually, that's declining a little bit, but compared to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we saw a spike in the number of students who were homeschooled during the pandemic. And since 2000, it's slowly come down. If we compare back to like 2019, the year before the pandemic, we're a little larger, but not much. So there actually hasn't been like this huge wave towards homeschooling. Where the wave has actually come, and wave's a strong term, because actually every November, I'll do this presentation to the school committee, because we have a responsibility to find every child in the town of Carver and where they go to school. So I'll make a presentation of where all the kids in Carver go to school, and the percentage of students who live in Carver who don't attend the Carver Public Schools and where they're attending. And the school committee actually gets a list, I'll put it up on the board, shows you every school that every kid in Carver attends. We do this every November. And because we do it in November because the data has to be collected based on October 1st. They do it, it's called the October 1 number, that's how like our Chapter 78 is based on our October 1 number. The state just arbitrarily said October 1, that's where we want to find out where everybody is. So then we spend October figuring that all out, and then November we make a presentation to the school committee about it. And our number is actually pretty steady in terms of the number of students who are seeking other opportunities. It's larger than it was 20 years ago because there's more opportunities than there were 20 years ago. There's more charter schools, there's more of those things. 20 years ago, it was around 9 or 10% of our students sought some sort of alternative or sought education outside of the Carver Public Schools. I think our number was, I want to say it's 14.4. I would be quoting something very specific that I don't have in front of me, but it's around 14%. Of our school-age students who live in Carver don't attend the Carver Public Schools. But where we've seen a little growth actually is on virtual academies. So we have students who, since the pandemic, these virtual academies, and they don't consider themselves as homeschools. You enroll in them just like, some people take online college. students can enroll in a virtual academy in Idaho. And they're technically part of that Idaho school district, and they're taking their virtual academy courses. We've seen a little bit of growth in that since 2020.
To add one other thing, just as you were mentioning the statewide decline in student population, just this year was different 15,000 students across the Commonwealth. So again, just an indicator of the aging of the Commonwealth, right? To add to what Mr. Neef said here a few seconds ago, the chart that you have there shows the large and continuing to grow gap between what is Chapter 70 in the blue and then the local funding required to operate a school district in Carver. For those 272 communities, they're going to have a graph that's really similar. That's why I said at the outset, this is really an interesting conversation point, sort of inflection point for the Commonwealth to think about how do we use Chapter 70 to support all communities, not just this 15% of communities. And I think what you see happen is that communities start to squabble around the existing pie rather than look for additional pie. So rather than try to find additional resources and force the state to sort of have these hard conversations, they say, no, let's find ways to take funding away. And so that's been the advocacy really from the school department to the state, is saying like, hey, this is creating infighting amongst these 272 communities. The state needs to rethink how they do Chapter 70.
You know, Pat would know this number better, but in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, the Chapter 70 covered about 60%, close to 60% of the school district's costs.
It was,
And the town covered 40%. And the bottom line is that's flopped.
Yeah.
Because Chapter 70 hasn't maintained, Chapter 70 hasn't grown, state aid hasn't grown.
With the cost of operating.
With the cost of operations.
Yeah.
And it's not just Carver, that's pretty universal, that is shifting. There's a larger burden being shifted on the town and the community or the city to cover the cost of education. I mean, that, you know, over 25 years, that's a dramatic shift to have it be 60-40 state town to 60-40 town state.
Yeah.
And certainly, you know, the town has to come up with a way to fund that.
Did, and I remember that.
Yeah.
And is what's the status of unfunded mandates?
Growing is the
about this time, because I can remember those, and how do they look now? And does it contribute to part of this issue?
I think in some regard it does. I'll give you just an illustration of that. You've got on your warrant right now a mechanism by which the Carver schools are trying to get some additional reimbursement for transporting students who are in foster care. Prior to that, you still have to transport the student in foster care, and that has a substantial cost to it, sometimes through a for-profit vendor if it's a one-off situation. And there wasn't a mechanism by which we would get any additional funding. That's just one example of many. I don't know if I could illustrate all of them for you this time.
No, that used to be significant, and probably still is.
I think so. I really do think, I mean, not to get on a soapbox, but I do think the conversation as communities and as local politicians, I'd hope would be with our colleagues in Beacon Hill around how we rethink Chapter 70 rather than sort of like squabbling over the existing pie. We need to expand the pie in some capacity.
I mean, I'll give you an example. So recently in the past year, we've had NEASC evaluation at the high school level 2 years ago, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. And last year we had what was called a district review from DESE, which they evaluate the school district based on how we're meeting or adhering to DESE's, the Department of Education regulations. Right? And we did really well in both reviews. But an example of something that, I don't know if it's an unfunded mandate, but there's clearly a push. I talked about the intervention model at the elementary school. Both reports came back and said, we would like to see you build an intervention model at the middle school level and at the high school level. So same concept. I think it's growing. There's more middle schools that have intervention models. It's not very typical at a high school because it's the nature of a high school schedule of saying, hey, this student's struggling in math, so now they're going to have another course that's a math support class during the day or a reading support class during the day because they have to go to chemistry. When it's like it becomes a scheduling thing, like when do you fit that thing in, right? But it's also a staffing thing. You know, so if we have recommendations from both those organizations that we should implement an intervention model at the high school level, that that requires more people to do that intervention model. And so, but that's not funded through Chapter 70. There's no piece of Chapter 70 that says, okay, if you have to have more people that have an intervention model at the high school level, then we're going to increase your state aid to support that. That would be another example.
So more to come, I think, on Chapter 70, but I just wanted to give you the drill down on that landscape. So that's state and local aid, so you ultimately get that warrant and figure. Your grants and offsets are just less, they're a smaller portion, but I think a helpful for completeness to go through it as well. This is your snapshot of grants and offsets. You see the offset on the left, the thing it pays for. What the revenue is that next column, FY26 to 27. They're pretty typical. I won't spend too much time on all of these, but I do want to drill in, if I can, to circuit breaker. It's your largest annual offset, and I think one that is instructive when it comes to sort of the big picture of our budget. So a little bit about circuit breaker. This is a super high level, but feel free to drill in if you want to ask more questions. At a 10,000 foot level, it's essentially state funding through appropriation that offsets some of those special education costs we talked about that are declining. Yeah. The way it works is the community covers about the first $50,000. You can see 1, 2, 3, the fourth column that says claim threshold. Every year that increases a little bit with inflation, but essentially it's about $50,000. Community covers the first $50,000 of, let's say, a tuition for a kiddo to go out to get significant special education intervention. The state then reimburses 75 cents on the dollar for every dollar after the first $50,000, after they meet the threshold. That's done a year in arrears, though. Yeah. So that's the big picture of it. Why is that important? 2 reasons. One, the Student Opportunity Act that Mr. Neef alluded to helped expand some of that, which has been really helpful for communities like Carver. Added a component for transportation. They sort of heard the feedback. They heard the advocacy of folks like Ms. Clordy and our school committee and the Massachusetts Association of School Committees saying like, hey, transportation is super expensive. That should be included. They did that. And they indexed it against inflation, which they hadn't done either. So those 2 things were helpful for Carver and a lot of communities. The other thing that's important to keep in the back of your mind is I mentioned earlier that 9,000 series is going down, which is awesome. It does mean, though, that you're going to have a lag in reduction for your circuit breaker. So that revenue, a year in arrears, is going to follow it. And that's something to keep in the back of your mind. Lastly, one-time offsets, not super exciting, but just helpful to sort of balance your budget all in. We, in the pandemic years, like many communities, had a lot of them to sort of just keep the thing afloat. We're slowly bringing those down. You have some sped increment for school choice. The largest one there, though, is going to be a special education prepay. As we mentioned at the outset, the 9,000 series is decreasing. The number of the costs for kiddos going out of districts decreasing. That's happening now in real time, which means you get savings in your FY26 budget. Chapter 71, Section 71 says like, hey, if you have some of those savings, you can prepay a certain portion of those tuitions in the next year to help offset. So we're going to do some of that to balance your budget. This graph on the right is one of my favorite, if you can be a nerd to have a favorite graph, this is one of my favorite graphs. What you see there is sort of the 3 buckets of revenue that you've got. In blue is your local aid in Chapter 70, the warrant number, yeah? In the sort of brown section there, annual offsets, etc. And then in that green topper, those are your one-time offsets. The goal, ideally, is to have no green topper, right? You will have $0 that are one-time funding offsetting your annual costs. Each year, we've gotten a little bit better post-pandemic, but we're not quite there yet. Okay, we did it. We're going to hop into the executive summary. I'll give you a bit of a big picture of how the balanced budget worked. Left-hand side just gives you your categories: gross operating, any new positions, any reductions positions, net operating. Continue down through revenue. 2/3 of the way down, you see the warrant figure, total revenue, and then the balance. If you just did level services, all the things that Mr. Neef described, added nothing, took nothing away, you're negative about 160. Doesn't add any new positions, does include all of the retirements that would be in there, includes the alternative on-bill credits, those things, right? However, we need some additional programming. We need some additional staffing. I don't know if you want to touch upon this or let me hit upon it. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I can hit these quickly. So this budget actually proposes 4 new positions, 3 FTEs. One is a bus driver for a pre-K route. Actually, right now, we're having a hard time busing all of our pre-K students to school on time. Based on our pre-K enrollment for next year, we just need another bus driver to drive all the kids. There's not enough bus drivers to drive, so adding a bus driver position. We're adding one-to-one paraprofessional ESP, which is a support position. That is just a new position in a student's IEP, so that was called through his IEP services. That student needed a one-to-one. So the first two we feel like there's no choice there. Like those are have to do's. The next two we feel are important needs, and you're going to see in the next slide we have some reductions. So our reductions are going to help to balance off some of those needs. As I said, the music program is growing. We have huge numbers going into our music program. We have one choral teacher at the high school who's going to have 200 students. That's a huge course load for one person. And so we're proposing to actually add a part-time or 0.5 music teacher to support the music program and actually help support the pathway as well, because we could build that pathway a little bit more. We didn't talk about this. We have a TV production studio. Right now, that TV production studio is being run by English and social studies teachers. So we had some people who were just really excited about the concepts of running our TV studio. And you're going to see one of our reductions is actually for a social studies position. So we're going to reduce the social studies position. The social studies teacher who's teaching video production is going to be able to teach more social studies. And then we're going to hire a 0.5 video production studio. So we're going to get our English and our social studies teachers back to teaching English and social studies and try to hire someone full-time whose expertise is to run the TV studio. That's also a growing program. We just did course sign-ups. We had over 80 students sign up for our video production courses next year, which we're excited about. And so that's a proposed add in this budget. So next slide. So what are we going to do to balance off? So we had a shortfall, right, of
163?
471. The addition of these positions brings our shortfall to 281,984. So what are we reducing to get to that? So we're going to reduce, and now these are all through retirements or attrition, so no one's losing their job. So we're going to have a full-time special ed ESP at the middle high school. Is going to be a reduction. And really, you could look at that as a swap with the one-on-one at the elementary school. It's the same contract. Contractually, it's the same position. Those are actually swaps. We could have, in theory, we could have pulled those out and just said, that person's role's changing. So we're going to have one less ESP at the middle high school, but we're adding one at the elementary school. We're going to reduce a high school history teacher who's retiring. We're not going to replace that retirement. It's going to make our class size a little larger but manageable. We're going to reduce a grade 1 teacher. So currently our grade 1 only has 91 students in it. We currently have, so we're going to go from 6 teachers to 5 for grade 1, and then that number will be able to follow those students to the elementary school. So that's an appropriate number for that, and that is also through retirement. So we have an elementary school teacher retiring who we're not going to replace. Then we talked about that transition from French to Portuguese a little bit. Our French teacher is going to go from full-time to 0.6. And next year, we're going to be able, our Spanish teachers right now can teach Portuguese. So they're going to take up the Portuguese slack next year. So they can do both Spanish and Portuguese. And they're going to begin to launch our Portuguese program. So we're reducing reducing foreign language by 0.4. So overall, we have two full-time teachers who are not going to be replaced due to retirement. And ESP not being replaced through retirement, but we're adding that position in elementary school, and then the reduction of a foreign language. That balances us out. That leaves us a shortfall of 47,824, which ties back to our one-time expenditures in school choice and district payments.
Right.
Bring this to a balanced budget that meets the number of 26 million. 237, 430.
I would just say last thing, if I can, I know we've spent a lot of time. I know this was a long presentation. I appreciate your patience and your grace with us. As we're putting this together, though, we said We want to make sure this is not just figures, but that this helps people understand what you get with your investment in your school department. We realize schools in the Commonwealth are expensive. That's just the nature of educating children in one of the most educationally successful states in the country. We hope this has given you just a glimpse into what Carver Schools does for your kiddos and your community, and we thank you for your time.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments for the school department? Go ahead,
Just
Jack.
like, this was one of the reasons why I volunteered for this committee, because I felt, I've lived in this town for over 25 years, and the school system has been great to my family. So much so that my son, who's lived all over the world, is moving back to Carver this year so he can put his kids through the Carver school system. And he has one of his best friends that he graduated from high school with when Mr. Neef was the principal, is doing the same thing. The products of our school system want to come back and be in this school system. And I think it's important, and I congratulate them for what's going on.
Thank you, appreciate
That's
that.
good. Anybody else?
Sure.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Can you talk a little bit about class sizes? We talked a little bit about enrollment coming down, and how do we compare, I guess, to the state?
In terms of comparison, I can definitely talk about class size, so I can tell you exactly what it's gonna be at the elementary school.
If you don't have it, like, you can just send it to me another
No,
day, that's
I
fine.
actually have the elementary, I can tell you. And then the middle high schools, it's hard to give you an exact class size because there are ranges. Elementary is easier because it's a number of kids and a number of teachers, and they divide them up equally. Obviously, the middle high school is based on student interests, and I just told you, we have all these electives. So we have electives that are running at 10, 11 kids, we have electives that are running at 25. So those, the generic numbers I can give you bandwidths, but the middle high school generic class size is gonna be 17 to 20 across the board. At the elementary school next year, we don't know what our kindergarten enrollment is. Some early data, we're at that process, and we actually get the live births every year from Cara Dayhill for 5 years previously, gives us a sense. Based on that sense, we're estimating right now, we're gonna enroll between 100 and 110 kids at the elementary school for kindergarten, with 6 teachers. So at 6 teachers and 110 kids, that's gonna be around 18 kids a classroom. Grade 1's gonna have 90 kids with 5 teachers, so that's a reduction, so that'll be 18 students per classroom. Grade 2 is 122, 6 teachers with 20 students a classroom. Grade 3 is 94 students, 6 teachers, which is our smallest grade. That's an average class size of 16, which is outstanding. Grade 4 is 127, which will have 6 teachers for an average class size of 22. Right now, our largest class in the district is grade 5. Grade 5 has 147 students. We run a teaming model, because certainly someone can make an argument to say, hey, why don't you have one less teacher in grade 3, have an extra teacher in grade 5, then they'd all balance out around 20. At 147 and 6 teachers, you're gonna have 25 kids class. That's gonna be our largest class. That will get diffused a little bit when they move to the middle high school. But we run a teaming model with, in grades 3, 4, and 5, there's an English teacher and a math teacher who are teamed together, and they switch kids. If you have an odd number of teachers, whether it be 5 in grade 3 or 7 in grade 5, that disrupts that teaming model. It has a less equity in terms of structure. And we've had classes of 25 before. So we've made a strategic decision to have a grade level has classes of 16 and a grade level has classes of 25, but they could be bigger. I think to answer John, maybe what's in your mind is we just talked about, we have declining enrollment. Eventually that declining enrollment is gonna have to tie to declining teachers. Because that's just reality, because you're gonna need fewer teachers. If you have fewer kids, you're gonna need fewer teachers. And we're starting that this year with a little bit with not filling positions through attrition. So overall, we're gonna have 2 fewer teachers next year. And I think over the next couple of years, through retirements, we're gonna see a reduction in the size of our teaching staff unless we have some anomaly in terms of moving. which I don't see that. All of a sudden, if we enroll like 140 kids in kindergarten, that would be great. We'd all be excited about that. But that's not what it's projected to be. Or for some reason, I know there's all kinds of discussions outside of my more what you're doing than what I'm doing. But I know there's been talks about different housing units going to town, those types of things. Could that see a spike in enrollment in the schools? But we're kind of like on that fine line right now of if we had more reductions in teachers, now we'd be back up at having class sizes of 24, 25, 26, 27 consistently. And that starts to get on the large side, right? And right now we're kind of in a sweet spot. A lot of our classes at the middle high school run on that range of 17 to 20 students, which is good. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that was good.
It was good.
And I think it's something that we're gonna have to look at though. Obviously it may not always be the other side is that it's a very long answer to a pretty straight question, is that, quote me, say if I have the number wrong, 70 to 75% of our teachers are at the top of our pay scale.
That's always been the number.
But you're gonna see a shift in that in the next 5 years. And I'm not trying to push gloom or doom, there's gonna be a lot of retirements. Not next year, not the next 1 or 2 years, but the next 5 years, you're gonna see a lot of retirements. And then the goal would be that obviously we bring in some younger, newer staff. And then the school district is gonna have to look at, the school committee is gonna have to look at, as we have that wave of retirements in the next 5 years. Where are places where maybe we don't replace those positions because the numbers don't make sense anymore, right? Because if we have declining enrollment, eventually we're gonna have to have some level of, if the decline in enrollment continues, you'd have to have a decline in the number of teaching staff.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And if there's anything you're looking for, like specific for numbers, you can certainly reach out to Ron.
Yeah, I've got some, I'll send them over.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, well, I'd like to thank you guys for coming in and having the school committee here too, a couple school committee members, and appreciate that. There's no vote necessary. We've already voted on the total budget and whatever, but I think it's important to have the department with the biggest budget in town to come and tell us some of the great stuff you're doing, the innovative stuff. It's always interesting to hear about that, and I just wanted to give you an opportunity to share that with us and the public. So we appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Have a nice second.
Hey.
Okay, next we've got 3 articles that we have to go back and look at. Maybe Glenn, you can give us the, it's 7, 8, and 9, although in the, on the agenda that I made out is Article 8 and 7 are, the number and the explanation got transposed. So if we go to Article 7 on the health insurance budget, we need to do a vote on that. So maybe, Glenn, if you want to explain that to us.
Sure, I'll give you a high level here, and we can get into the detail of it. As we've gone through our health insurance year of FY '26, we have come up on a $4 million deficit for the town of Carver. Just so the committee knows, we are part of the Gateway Health Group, the town of Carver, the town of Lakeville, and the Old Rochester Regional School District. It is a shared group, so we share all the costs. Of that group, there is a $7 million deficit, and the town of Carver is somewhere in this 55 to 56% of that group. It's a very small group, so that puts us around this $4 million deficit that we're looking for FY '26 here. We have a plan right now put together of approximately $1.5 million of free cash, $1.5 million from the pilot program, and then $1 million from stabilization in rough numbers here. But that is, again, to offset FY '26.
And this is going to be just to put the money aside for, until we get a real accounting of what the what the deficit is.
Correct. There are some numbers coming in now. It will really true up at the end of the year, June 30th, 2026. We are in need of some funding right now to pay our bills currently.
Right.
Again, we have been paying our claims as they come in, but we're on a program where, again, where our employees go to the doctors, that results in a claim against our insurance. We are paying those claims as we go. We are running out of money, and they project this for the end of the fiscal year, again, June 30th, 2026, but they are projecting this $4 million deficit, of which, will start to hit us in May and June, but there will be also some that will lag into the FY27. If you're familiar with your medical bills, even at home, you go to the doctor, you may not receive a bill for a month or a month and a half, and you may dispute that bill. And then it even lags behind. So sometimes these medical bills can last and lag behind for a couple of months.
Okay, are there any questions as to, so we can take a vote on this, any questions as to Article 7?
Is there, again, somebody that I'm kind of new to, are there legal repercussions for this mess that we're in?
We are pursuing avenues right now. We do feel as though maybe there were some areas that do need closer scrutiny and may need legal scrutiny as we go forward, that maybe all of the numbers that projected us weren't an honest assessment. Let me put it that way. And we are pursuing those avenues to take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion for Article 7 as written.
I'll make the motion for Article 7 as written.
Okay, second. Second by Jack. Further discussion from the group? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No? Abstain?
One.
You're opposed? Okay, 3-1.
Okay, thank you.
Article 8, which we already voted a couple of things. Is there anything else that we need to do? Or can we just say Article 8 as amended from our previous votes?
And I have it down that you took a 4-0 vote to recommend the article. Is that correct? Yes, so I think you're all set, Pat.
I thought we had,
The overall, I thought.
We did it in two parts. We did the authorization and then the 70,000 for ambulance
Right.
receipts.
so are we good?
Yeah, I think you're good on Article 8.
I think so.
Okay, 4-0. Okay, and then we have Article 10.
Community preservation article. I don't really see an awful lot new here. There is a flag program here for $2,500. I will say I know a little bit about the 44 Lakeview Street project. That was one that community preservation voted $50,000 a few years ago for materials, and they were going to do it with volunteers. And I guess kind of the volunteer committee has fallen apart, if you will. And now they're looking to actually implement that, which I am supportive, because we have material sitting around not being
Okay.
utilized.
Did we have a question on that or a concern that we tabled it?
We were questioning why one of the balances had increased, and we were gonna invite Mr. Bentley here tonight to talk about it.
And
But that's
I
it.
didn't.
So it was the one, so if we go to the warrant article from last year, it was the Historic Preservation Reserve Fund was $3,000 last year, and now it's $8,500, $700. $85,700, sorry, it's late for me. $85,700.
I don't have an answer for you about that yet.
Sorry. Yeah. It might just be a categorized differently this year.
Well, I do know when they bring in the funds, so certainly the funds come out of your taxes. If they're not allocated, they need to be specifically put into these different funds. I want to say it's, where is it? It should be in here, right? Is it 10%, 10%, and 80%? So the only thing I could speculate, Beth, is that last year they may have hit that or close to that 10% on the historic preservation funds, and that was why there was only $8,000 put in. Maybe they had allocated 9% of the funds into something else. But I don't have the other article in front of me, so it's hard for me to comment on it.
Okay, but you're good with the way it's written?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion to accept Article 10 as written.
I'll make a motion to accept Article 10 as written.
Okay, second? By Jack, okay, any further discussion? No, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, 4-0. Thank you. Now, the other thing, okay, so that takes us through all the articles.
All the articles, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what we've got now that's not on the agenda, but it can come under topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair at least 48 hours in advance, because I didn't get this in time, is we've got another packet here for the 3 articles in the special town meeting. Okay, so maybe Glenn, you could take us through those.
Sure, so, and let me just start this, so the board had to post Thursday afternoon. The articles didn't close till Friday, so unfortunately, this was not able to be posted onto the agenda,
Yep.
that's why.
They're pretty straightforward.
So Article 1 is a supplementary appropriation for the ambulance receipts here. And really what that comes down to is they've gone out for more runs than they normally would. It's led to an increase in salaries, salary offset. So there is an increase here of approximately $60,000. That is covered by the ambulance receipts. So every time they go out for a run, they earn more money, but they just didn't anticipate the number of runs that they would be doing in a year. Or they, again, I would say almost like healthcare, there's just more runs than there actually were the year before, and substantially more.
So I just have a question. So this is definitely for the per diem EMTs or paramedics and
Right.
not that new position?
No, not through, literally in FY '26, they're just actually doing more runs than they had anticipated.
Okay, so could I have a motion to accept Article 1 under the special town meeting as written?
So moved.
Okay, so moved. Second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none? Okay, 4-0. Okay, and this is Article number 2.
Article 2 is, again, FY '26 supplemental appropriation for the North Carver Water District. It is my understanding that this is really broken into 2 components, that this is, in addition to the budget they had. One being a distribution system operator who they had to hire for the system, even though we're not pumping water out of the facility. There's still the distribution system that has to be looked after. And then also there is a professional engineering firm hired by the district to perform DEP mandates, particularly a safety plan for the district. So those 2 things have resulted in the majority of this $250,000 offset.
Okay, and they have a motion to accept Article 2 as written in this special town meeting warrant.
Sorry, just got to sneeze. So moved.
Okay, moved. Second? Second by Jack. Okay, any discussion?
I have one thing.
Good.
I'm okay with this. I know they need the money, but I just do worry, is the budget we set for 2027 enough?
I certainly do feel it's appropriate. There's 2 things that I would do differently, and again, we may need to hopefully take this over. We still have legislation pending to take over the North Carver Water District. On the distribution system operator, we have a distribution system operator here in town, takes care of town hall, the elementary school and the high school. We believe we can amend that contract and substantially reduce that rate. On the engineering side, I do know there are some DEP mandates. We can take a look at that. You can even renegotiate those with DEP. Part of that also, though, is what I would consider to be part of a capital project to replace existing meters for the existing users, which is a project that does need to be done. But you know, if you're going over budget, it might be time to put that on hold until you can afford it, or you go back to the capital committee where the request probably should have been placed.
Okay. Any other comments, Jack?
Is the water district ever gonna get to a point where it doesn't cost us any money?
That's a great question, Jack. So it has, to my understanding, it has always been subsidized, the water district. This year, I would say it is particularly bad. We have proposed a $650,000 budget. They're bringing in about $250,000 of that budget. So the town is subsidizing it at $400,000. Now, historically, I would say the town has always paid the mortgage on the facility, which is about $231,000 a year. So it's a little bit higher than that. I do know they went out and raised the rates this year. I think that's one of the things that has to happen. You have to kind of do a rate analysis to make sure we're close.
Do it with like other towns and make sure that.
Correct. Yeah, and even to look at, the cost, what it's costing us as a district to run it, and to make sure we're, offsetting that with appropriate rates.
Yeah, I know Middleborough makes a ton of money on their water department. And I'm not saying we need to get to that point.
We're a big
But I think
customer
we
of theirs, too.
need to get to the point where it doesn't cost us a lot of money.
Yeah.
I do know they're very limited, and there's 135 between residential and commercial users.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that's a small number.
It
So
is.
you may need
Yeah.
to have a larger pool, if you will, to be able to break even. It's my experience that most water districts do break even though, so they
Yeah.
usually run a little, better.
It would be great if we
With the
broke even.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this whole thing goes back to the 90s. And I remember, because I was here then, too. And this first started out with grandiose ideas of supplying particularly commercial companies, private industry, water up in the North Carver area. The customers came along because the wells were problematic, okay? And it just never took off. It just never really did, and hopefully it does. But I've got a couple of problems with this, in the fact that we've got a very poor organizational structure here with the makeup of the North Carver Water District, the board. It is done in such a way that they are essentially independent and they act it. There is very little cooperation with the administration here, very little cooperation in their potential use of expertise that we have within our departments. And there is legislation to dissolve them. I don't think it's a good idea for a current board to be making large decisions that are going to have to be inherited by another board in a short period of time. That's never a good situation. So those are my two reasons that I have that I'm not in support of this. And I don't think also that the DEP is going to start fining anybody as long as they can see that you're making a good faith effort to comply with some of their criteria that they have. So that's my 2 cents worth. So anybody else have any other comments? Okay, so can we have a motion to accept Article 2 as written in special town meeting?
I think we do. We're in the discussion.
Oh, you know something? We are. I'm not ahead of myself, I'm going backwards. So, okay, so any further discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm opposed, so it's 3-1.
And then the last article, the one that did just come in on Friday, this is a pilot program, taxes in lieu of, payment in lieu of taxes, sorry. A pilot program for a solar array. They are interested in coming into the town of Carver, and we've been very successful with negotiating these pilot programs. It has not been fully negotiated right now, so I don't have a final figure for you. But this is standard practice. The select board, board of assessors, the town administrator, we all sit down and work these pilots out. I would say to the benefit of the town, because we've done well with this.
And this is off of Ward Street?
Yes.
Okay, and can we have a motion to accept Article 3 as written in the special town meeting warrant?
So moved.
Moved, second Jack, okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, 4-0. And that brings us to the end of our meeting. Does anybody have any comments as we end? Okay, so can I have a motion to, I don't know when our next meeting is going to be. I'll let you know. It may be town meeting, probably. So, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
June 2nd, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, meeting adjourned. Okay,